Hey, you two. I hope this is okay to contact you this way. It's not being posted as a public thing because it's not meant for everybody. I just want you guys both to know that I'm really sorry for my shit. Christian especially, I'm really sorry for getting as angry as I did with him when Melissa went over there. I still get two sides of that situation to a degree because, yeah, I don't know. It's old shit and I'm trying not to rehash that. Yet, a part of me also feels like some of it has to be addressed. And I'm trying to do my best to somehow verbalize it without losing track. This last time seeing you guys, it was really good to see you guys. Christian will have, I don't think will have, well, I can't say he doesn't have an idea because I can tell he loves his son very much. And I don't know if he understands fully what it would be like to one day suddenly not have that little man around at all. And right now, I don't think either of you can fathom what it's like to go from having your child there, a part of your life all the time, to having to go through the changes of being an empty nester. That's a stage in life you guys will deal with later. That's just a part of being a parent. I know Christian has a big heart. I raised him from 3rd grade on. And for a bit there, I know you guys probably thought I hated his mom because where Danny was concerned. I think I had every right to be concerned about where Danny was concerned. Because even before we knew what he did, she put more energy into that man than she did even her own kids. And if anything, she put more energy into her daughters than she did her son. That's not my fault. Christian knows the door was always open. The only thing I didn't want until he was old enough to basically fend for himself was that man didn't have any direct contact with him for a while. I knew what that man was. I knew what Danny was the moment him and I had words with each other. And the reason why I knew is because I was raped by my own brother from the age of 3 to the age of 5. And being a victim of somebody like that, you tend to spot them very quickly. I had issues with him from the start. And the few times that Tina decided to pop around, like for his 8th grade graduation and stuff like that, yeah, I think I had every right to be upset because she showed no interest at all. Like nothing. As far as I was concerned. That I could see because nobody was saying anything to me. So as far as I knew, she was too busy to playing housewife with Danny than trying to be able to somehow co-parent where Christian's concerned like she's able to do with Jason Walters. I didn't do what Jason and his new wife did when Tina and him first split up. I didn't go sitting outside her place, do anything like that. I didn't go sit outside of Danny's place or do anything like that. I didn't go pull the shit that he did. Let alone every time she'd come around, I wasn't sitting and calling her a slut and a whore. I got treated worse than he did, yet he got it got treated with more dignity through the process than I have through a lot of things. For what reasons that is, I don't know. See, I still remember the days when Christian, when he was first living with me, we had the joke of, you might be a redneck if your dad walks you to school every morning because you're both in the same grade. I got to raise my younger son. I got to raise Christian. I wasn't given that opportunity with Kenneth because of his mom and stepdad and their families involved. That's not my fault. I don't have control over what happens there. I never had control of what happened there. Anytime I was to date anybody, I wouldn't get to see Kenneth for 1 to 2 years, and then that was my fault because he was being used as a tool to try and control my relationships with people. His mom had right to marry and be with whoever she wanted to be, whether it was my best friend or my cousin. But I didn't have right to have a relationship with anybody without having to worry about losing the ability of having a relationship with my older son. I didn't have to worry about that with Christian. Because regardless of any differences that Tina and I had over the years, it wasn't enough to be in the way to keep the other parent from having the opportunity of being there for our child. I may not have ever known where Tina and them lived, but Tina never used Christian like a tool or a weapon to keep me from seeing him anytime I was to date anybody or was to be seeing anybody else. I mean, it'd be like that brief moment you two had split up, and yeah, it'd be like one of you withholding Christopher from the other. You wouldn't really have a whole lot of control on what's going on with that, let alone to be punishing the other for dating somebody else and using him to do it. And that's what happened to me for a long time where Kenneth was concerned. Christian, no. That's why I told his brother there the last time him and I even had words, when I kept telling him the shit needs to stop, and all he could do is call me anything but human, talk about lighting me on fire, and throwing one racial slur after another out there. And like I said to him, all you have to do is look at how Kenneth and Christian act and how they treat people. And you can tell how each one was raised. If I had any right to raising Kenneth through that entire time. See, I didn't even know he was living with his grandma until I don't know how long after. And it was whenever she decided to call. She called me. I think it was when Tina and I were still married and we were living there in Oregon City. At the apartments there. I didn't know he was living with Sue before that. I didn't know what the fuck was going on other than he was constantly being accused of raping his little sister, which I knew was bullshit. Let alone the other abuses that I had to hear about. Most of this shit that was going on, I didn't know about until a long time after. And that was on Kenneth's mom and them, and then my folks. Yet it was because of the fact that I didn't fight like I should have for Kenneth, like I did where Christian was concerned. Because the reason why I say that is because I still remember his Nana coming into the kitchen there in Oregon City and trying to talk me into letting her take the kids away. And I popped on her and I told her, I was like, you're not taking my son away. You're not taking the kids away. I mean, I got pissed. So the last time you guys took my son away, I didn't know where the fuck he was. And I had to rely on them on when I could have a relationship with my son. I got lucky to the fact that I got to that Tina contacted me when he was still 7, 8 years old. and asked if I wanted to take him. I said yes. I wasn't going to fight it. If Melissa had done the same thing where Kenneth was concerned, instead of dumping him off at her mom's house, I would have done the same thing. My whole life I've been condemned because of my disability. And then to find out why I have such bad social issues and why they've gotten worse since Jess died. I think Christian of all people shouldn't, with you guys, Christian of all people should fully understand what has happened after Jess died. I haven't had anybody to talk to, and now that learning that I deal with this high spectrum autism, I now understand why I struggle with socializing, communication. I struggle why that when things change so rapidly, I don't know how to handle them. When it comes to things that I have said in the past, like when he turns 18, I'm done being daddy. At 18 years old, he's a grown man. It doesn't mean I'm done being his dad. It just means he's his own man. That I had enough faith in him, that I raised him right, that he was more than capable to be able to do the things that I couldn't even do at his age. I wanted him to be better than me. That's the goal of a parent, is that your kids do better than you. And when your child condemns you for them turning out to doing better in life than their parents, then they clearly miss the point of what it is to be a parent in that aspect. You want your kids to be better and have a better life than yourself, period. And I got condemned to high hell by Kenneth for that. Between Kenneth and Christian hurt me really bad. Kenneth is only acting on how he was raised to act, and by what he was constantly told, instead of actually being told facts. I mean, crap, he doesn't even know half the jobs I even worked. All he can go back to is jobs that I worked in high school. The dope and all that shit, I've been clean since I was 21. I've been clean for 20 years. I've been clean longer than... I went clean long before Kenneth did, technically. I don't know about Christian, because I have to question everything that has ever been said. And you guys got to understand that I got in trouble for things that were said to me because I tried to deal with the situation and find out what was going on. And I got in trouble for that. And that was the whole Coke bullshit. I got in trouble because Cody came to me saying the shit he did. And then I got in trouble because of Kenneth on 3 different occasions doing the same thing. You know, when you get contacted for the same thing 3-4 times, if that was your son, would you want to get to the point going, okay, what the fuck's going on? Especially when you're hearing it from their sibling and one of their own friends. I don't know why Cody would go out of his way to contact my mom to get my number to contact me to talk bullshit. I got in trouble for being a parent, yet I was being made out a piece of shit for saying I was done being a dad. There's hypocrisy going on. See, for me, all this bullshit that we're dealing with and all this crap that's going on, in my mind, it started with, I asked for help where the house was concerned to get some of the things done that I couldn't get done on my own. Kenneth can call it me trying to cause problems between him and his brother. Christian's not the one who's been going between his mom, his dad, his grandparents, his friends, his parents' friends, and all these people talking shit. Kenneth has been. That's why I'm mad at him. He can sit and get angry with me for being a rat, but if you don't want someone to rat or tell the truth, don't create the situation for it to happen. I didn't tell Kenneth to call his mom and say the shit he did. I didn't tell Kenneth to call and brag about. So what? Christian and I like to do coke once in a while when we drink. And when he told me his version of what was said that day, I tried to give him that benefit of a doubt. But I was sitting there when it was said. I was literally sitting there having dinner with her when it was said on the phone. And for her to come up with something that quick from the moment she hung up the phone to immediately relaying what he said, you guys all got mad at me because I'm responding to what was being told to me. There's a reason why I got more upset with Kenneth for not helping so much as I did where Christian's concerned, because Christian helped the best he could. The fact that I got made out a piece of shit because I can't go lifting solar panels onto this roof by myself. Because I couldn't go crawling underneath a house due to my fucking spine and my physical health. I couldn't do the shit that him and his grandpa ended up doing under the house. Kenneth stood there with his hands in his pockets and watched them do it. The only thing he helped with, outside of the one time I didn't even ask them to come down and chop wood, was he came down and helped lay the flooring down in the living room. That's the only thing. Christian helped with the solar, getting the panels and shit up and mounted. He helped with laying the stuff down underneath the house. He helped with laying the flooring. It wasn't just chopping wood. The idea, a lot of this started because they thought my dad bought me a house. This all started when Melissa and I were living in Gladstone, and I could no longer work, and I had to go day in and day out with her telling everybody, and it happened right in front of me. She even did it with Kenneth and everybody, telling them that I'm just a lazy piece of shit. I don't do anything. I was the one paying. I was being drained of all my finances, paying for all the rent. I can pull the bank statements up from back then that I was paying for the last few months of rent. In her brain, she paid every single month of it, but no, it's bad when Grandpa's bank account and my bank account reflect differently from what her memory is. She was complaining that we weren't making enough money and it was getting harder, and I don't blame her. And all I felt like was shit because I couldn't do the stuff that I normally could do before. It was Grandma and Grandpa who offered to help get a home. I didn't ask for it. I didn't beg for it. I did nothing like that. But I also got tired of getting told that I was a piece of shit every day because I was disabled. Because I couldn't do all the shit I was doing before. My body has been giving out. And the only reason why I've been doing a lot of the stuff I have been is because who have I had to help, been around for help? I almost stopped asking for help because the last time I asked people for help, they said they would, and then they said I was lying. And then it turned into, and of course I got pissed because I asked for help, they said they would, so I couldn't understand why nobody was showing up, why nobody was at least communicating. Yeah, I was getting pissed. I got really pissed. It's obvious. I got really pissed. And it turned into people getting mad at me for getting mad because they flaked or procrastinated. And then when asked about the constant pictures of being out in Idaho or out camping, it's like there's all this time being spent going camping and partying and drinking in hot springs and sitting in rivers and shit like that. People were getting mad at me because they were flaking and I was getting mad about it. And all I needed them to do was communicate flat out and say they can't do it or they can't make it. I don't know how many times I kept saying that. That I would be able to, if I had to, I would find somebody else, even if it meant having to pay them to help get this stuff done. I sold my tractor, I sold all kinds of shit just to get the bat stuff dealt with and the electrical dealt with. Grandpa didn't pay all that. I did. As of right now, I pay might as well say $660 every month. And I've been doing that the entire time. I've already paid over $20,000 into this house. I've been doing the repairs and the updating. I've been having to do this shit right here. Trying to modify the property, bring value to it. I'm trying to work within my capabilities and my boundaries of what I can do. Not what I would like to do, because what I would like to do, I can't do it. I can't do it all. This is why I raised Christian the way I did, because I didn't want Christian to have to rely on somebody else necessarily for help all the time the way I do. I had nothing but respect, props, and hopes for Christian, because I knew he was going to do well. What hurt, though, is I raised him. He knows his dad, but he listened to somebody else talk a bunch of shit, which dictated his emotions towards his own dad. I don't blame Kenneth for his shit. I blame his mom. I blame his stepdad. I blame all those people who raised Kenneth to hate me the way he does. And he says he doesn't. But all the shit talking that's been going on nonstop. I mean, I even caught him doing it right in front of me with Patty after Melissa left the first time. And Patty started talking her shit. Caught him doing it there on the couch. So she ended up deleting her messages. The sad part for her is we had got all those screenshotted and saved before she could delete it. Because I was ready to press charges then on her, because I've been getting slandered behind my back, people accusing me of things that I don't even know about. When it comes to dogs, it took me, I don't know how long, to find out that the reason why Kenneth was so mad about me threatening to kill his dogs, because he forgot to leave out to his brother. And Alexia, I know you know about this situation. And because this is the situation that it was about. Because, again, I had to go by what my mother had to say, what somebody else had to say about the situation, about Lola lunging towards Christopher. And I guess you were there, Alexia. And Mom kept saying, Grandma kept saying that Lola was being aggressive. And I made it clear, if that dog had attacked your son, I would shoot that dog. If that dog had continued to attack the other dogs in the house, I would put it down. How much of that was actually being relayed to Christian? We're supposed to allow an animal to be aggressive in his grandparents' house that's too big for both of them to control or pull away, at risk of getting bit themselves, if that was the truth. Because I don't know, I was having to go by what my mother had to say about what was going on. So I responded to that situation the way I felt that I should have. I think no different than the way Christian would have if he was told that the same thing by anybody else. The problem with relying on one person to be your source of information about everything that's been going on over in my part of the world is because that person's been the only one that's been at the center of all the bullshit. I don't hate him. I'm done with his shit. I tried to be a dad there when I was allowed to be one to him, but he already made it clear, nope. And then to say that when he was a teenager I wasn't there for him, he was too busy working at Papa Murphy's. He was too busy trying to go out with his truck and hang out with his new friends and party. So to blame his mom and I for why he was too busy as a teenager, that's some bullshit. I don't blame my parents for me being too busy as a teenager. I'm sure Forrest doesn't either. I was doing what I felt as a parent was better to do than do what my parents did, especially my mom. See, as a teenager, my mom used to try and lock me in my room, keep me from leaving. And then when she'd get mad enough, she'd kick me out for days until eventually I would wander back home, like every other teen kid generally does. Anytime I did something that she wouldn't agree with, she'd try and lock me in my room, or she'd lock me in the house to keep me from leaving. Spark a fight the way Kenneth, likes to brag, going, oh, I knew I can get you to go off. Because then what my mom did is exactly what Kenneth does. As soon as she got the response she wanted, She turned around and called the cops, and then had me thrown into a hospital trying to say I was threatening her and everybody else, when no. 90% of the time it was me trying to just get away from her and get out of the house and get away from her. And instead, I've got a scar on the back of my head from being pistol whipped for having a weapon I didn't even have. I had a cell phone. Jess was on the phone then. I'm sorry, he's dead now to verify that. I don't know how many times I've had a gun pulled on me. I've had police dogs released on me because of my mother's shit. And what Grandpa has been complaining about, where Grandma's concerned, about what she's been pulling on him lately, down to like the air conditioner, I've had to deal with that almost my whole life. See, I know a lot. How can I put it this way? Kenneth and Christian don't know shit about where my life's concerned at all, and I know far more about theirs than they can admit, because it was a part of their life, technically, from the time they were born on. What area that I couldn't be for Kenneth, that's the area I really had to go by what other people had to say. But even then, I know more about Kenneth's life than either of those boys know about mine. And it's because I didn't talk about my past. I didn't talk about my childhood and the things I went through. Because it's a crutch in my mind. I don't understand that kind of shit, but then when you go to counseling, they want to sit there and go, okay, these are signs of PTSD, and then turn around and find out you've got autism, all this other shit going on. I had to go 40 years of my life not knowing this stuff, always wondering what was wrong, because everybody was telling me that there was a problem. And the only people who didn't allow that to interfere with having a relationship with him was Jess, Heather, Nate. They got to see what I was growing up in. You boys didn't. You guys got to catch the latter half. And not even the latter half. What I went through doesn't condone with how angry I got with Kenneth. With even Kenneth. Let alone, it doesn't condone with how angry I got with Christian. I didn't know how to communicate the problems with them without it just being a constant fight. And it didn't have to just be me getting upset. Because Kenneth, you know how Kenneth is when he's behind a phone. He has no problem saying anything and everything to get you set off. But he has a problem being honest to your face. And I think you both know this. And no, Christian especially should know at this point, what beefs I had with his mother was never made to be a beef between him and his mom. I never tried. So a beef I have between him and his brother is the same thing. But his brother does need to be told to knock his shit off. His brother does need a reality check. I love Kenneth, but I don't like him. I was never given the opportunity to bond with him the way I was with Christian. And he wants to put that on my plate. I wasn't the one who controlled him like a power tool to punish the other parent. There's a reason why Melissa said that she's dealing with karma from what her and Jake did to me, is because her and Jake alienated the piss out of me as a parent. Parental alienation. And then started doing it to my parents. And then Jake started doing it to her. Karma's a bitch. And it gets us all in some way or another. But I can't justify my actions no matter how many ways, even if some people could. I don't. I have continuously, since all this shit with Melissa and I, have been getting help. I don't think any of that really matters to anybody anyways. I just know that Christian has a big heart. I raised him. I didn't raise him the way his brother was, to be perfectly comfortable with going around calling people the N-word, about threatening people to the levels that Kenneth has, and to be completely to completely disregard his own actions the way his brother has. You can say that they have a big heart, but I think the biggest disappointment of where Christian was concerned was the fact that after his brother built up the drunk enough balls, because when you're drunk and you say something, you're not saying something because you're drunk, you're telling me exactly how you feel. And when his brother proceeded to threaten me the way he did, at such a degree that he did, and then to show up at my parents' house with his little brother and Jeff to follow through with those threats, that's not, we were just here to talk. Because if that was the case, I think Christian would have spent more time sitting down when we finally seen each other for the first time in a couple years to actually talk. Big hearts don't allow big brothers to influence them into hating their parents and then blaming them for why the parent wasn't there for him the way he was for the little brother. I didn't have a right to be there the way for Kenneth the way I was for Christian. They can say the drugs all they want. I've been clean from the drugs for a long time. And you don't ever hear me bragging about doing cocaine or any other drug and acting like, well, it's legal in Oregon. It's not legal. It's decriminalized. It means you can still go to jail for it. Pot was decriminalized back in early 80s, yet people were still going to prison for it all the way up until they recreationally legalized it in 2015. Kenneth has a lot of work to do on correcting damages he did down to the shit talking he did, because he's the only person that went between you guys, his mom, Christian's mom, my parents, his grandparents, and everybody I know damn near. I haven't talked to Melissa's family since we lived in Gladstone, because I got tired of being treated like shit and being looked at like shit. Because I wasn't rich enough. Because all I see is a young man that was taught that the only thing that makes you a good person is what's in your bank account and what kind of house you own. It's not about hard work. Because if it takes somebody to go to work making $30 an hour and they're not willing to do the same job for half that's not work ethics. That means that's a bribe. That means no. Work ethic has nothing to do with how much you get paid. If that was the case, I clearly have none. And this has been going on since April. I've had to repair the road out here with the neighbors. I haven't gotten paid once. I've been repairing the house by myself since getting this, outside of what few things Christian was able to help. The only things that I really actually asked for help for. Christian followed through on that aspect. I don't hate him. I'm more hurt. Like I said, I'm more hurt by him. Kenneth, I'm really angry with. And after that last spat between us, at this point, when I kept telling him that this shit needs to stop, I'm done. I'm not giving that opportunity with him. Like I said, this all started with me asking for help. And two boys promising and obligating themselves they would help. And while I kept watching them going on camping trips and the shit being posted, not just by them, but by their possible, or as far as I know, mother-in-law, what they're doing, and then the others posting himself, Jeff's posting the shit himself, all this stuff, going, look what we did this weekend. It's like at no point in the 6 months that we waited, it was more like 4 months, but these two boys couldn't have found 1 weekend each time to at least help knock out the 4 or 5 things I actually need their help with. The only times they showed up was after they successfully broke Melissa and I apart and got her to ditch my ass up here. It's the only time they showed up. That's what big hearts are for, right? When they successfully talk enough shit to get... See, this is what gets me too, is I got accused of hating Tina, then got accused of trying to get back with her, and then get accused again of this shit. I don't understand the logic in it. And had my life destroyed because, not Christian, I don't think it's Christian. Christian, I think, did the little brother thing and was influenced by Big Brother. And Big Brother was influenced by his jealousies of the fact that I ended up getting a house not because I asked for it or wanted it. It's because his grandparents offered to help. And the deal is I'd be paying for it this entire time, not them. And I've been paying for it. Have you gotten a phone call yet, Christian, about whether or not I'm going to make my payment on the house on time? Or why I'm late? It's the same exact situation as Kenneth with his trailer. Grandpa is a cosigner. And the fact that I found out that Grandpa is the primary holder of Kenneth's trailer, it is literally the same exact situation. I've never been asked why my house payment hasn't been paid. I've never had a problem paying my rent. I've never had a problem paying my bills. Just because I'm not rich, don't have a bunch of money, I've always paid my bills. The only things that his grandparents realistically actually help with here every now and then is cigarettes and gas. That's it. They're not paying my bills. And I can prove every single house payment. Being told that by Kenneth that because I'm on Social Security, I'm basically no different than any liberal out there who's getting free shit. I'm not on Social Security supplemental income, which means you don't have to work to earn that. I had to work my ass off to be able to make enough money on SSDR, Social Security Disability Retirement, to be able to replace the income that I had from working. And that's what I did. I worked my ass off for that. For not working, I was holding down 2 jobs nonstop for a while there, and Christian knows that. Christian knows I was having to work at Nome and work at Wild West at the same time. And part of that was to pay for my own health insurance because I needed to get help medically. I was having a lot of health problems. This was shortly before I ended up being back to being disabled. See, when those 2 boys, they get to an age to where they're ready to retire, they're not just going to be collecting off of 401ks. They're going to be getting Social Security Disability Retirement, just like I am. Is it going to be okay for Christopher to call his dad a piece of shit or make his dad out a piece of shit because he received Social Security Disability Retirement because his dad worked his ass off and earned that? I don't think that's okay, and that's how I've been made out to be. Not just by Kenneth. I've always firmly believed actions speak louder than words. Sometimes all we have is our words, though, and that's, Christian, I get that with Christian, I get that with Kenneth, I get that with all you guys. But in the end, I'm tired of the shit. I've been tired of it. I was tired of this 2 years ago. And I don't know how many times I even tried to say it to Christian. I'm done. This stuff needs to stop. We need to make some level of amends. And when I'm getting told I need to take responsibility for certain things, I'm not taking responsibility for shit I don't know about it, and I'm not taking responsibility for shit I didn't do. I never have been that way and never will be that way. In fact, the one time I took responsibility for someone else's actions, I was doing 40 hours of community service for Joe Craig, which your dad, Forrest, knows. Which was followed up with another 40 hours of community service because he didn't show up to finish his community service. And it was because he graffitied the Canby Pond bathrooms. Like, big time. And I got in trouble for it because I knew about it. I knew who did it. And so, therefore, I got in trouble for being associated with that person. I learned a long time ago that, there's one thing to have white lies, there's another one to have blatant lies that intentionally, is going to be destructive and cause problems and hurt people. Christian knows this very well. I don't understand and can't process the purpose of lying. Obviously, people fib. People tell white lies. But to intentionally lie to straight up try and get out of trouble, take no responsibility, and try and put it on somebody else's plate, that doesn't take a bigger man to do. It takes a smaller man. I was wrong to get as angry and upset as I did with you guys for being flaked on. I was not wrong for being mad, though. I shouldn't have allowed it to get to where it went. These boys were wrong for flaking. These boys were wrong for, especially Kenneth, for going between everybody, talking a bunch of shit about his dad. And then eventually when he couldn't break his mom and dad apart, he started talking shit about his mom too and destroying that. Kenneth and Christian know what they're responsible for. It's not on me to call them out for it. It's not on me to force them to face their shit too. You want to talk about being an adult and taking responsibility for your shit. We're not talking unless you can talk like an adult. It takes a man to face his shit and not wait for somebody else to do it first. And I've been trying to put a stop to this for a long time. To the point I grew tired and started blocking the boys because it was just, what can I do? Anytime I said something, I was told to go fuck myself. That's what big hearts are. I was made out the biggest piece of shit in the world because I got angry because two men, grown-ass men, who pride themselves on being hard workers and having work ethic, completely flaked on doing the work that they obligated themselves on until it created such a problem that even Christian himself sat back and go, I've never seen my dad this angry before. I wonder why, Christian. Might be a grown man, but just like me, I'm a grown man. Do you see me disregarding my parents that way? No. And you won't hear me blaming my parents for everything that's ever gone wrong in my life, because most of the shit from the time I became a 13-year-old teenager to now, I know right and wrong. And what decisions I made that were wrong decisions, those were all on me. You're not going to hear me blame my parents for it. And you'll never hear me tell my mom and dad I'm better than them. You're never going to hear out of my mouth that my dad's white trash. These are the big hearts I've been dealing with the last 3 years. And like I said, if these two boys had any inkling or knowledge of what had gone on in life of me growing up, I think they had realized that they turned into the same bullies and abusive family members I had to deal with growing up with my own aunts and uncles and cousins. The abuse I had to deal with in school. The abuses I've had to deal with in work. That's why part of me, I get anxiety even when I try to go back and at least work part-time. I get so much anxiety about going back to work because of how much abuse I dealt with from Little Amsterdam on through Gnome Grown. How much employee abuse can you take because people can tell you're different. And because you don't know what's wrong and you don't know how to pinpoint what's going on. You don't know how to defend yourself from it. If I had known as a child that I had autism, I don't think I'd be in this situation right now. I don't think I'd be in this even financial situation I'm in right now. I wouldn't have spent most of my life trying to find out what the fuck's wrong with me because other than the friends that have died and Nate, I can't understand why I can't make new friends. I struggle. I can't understand why I tend to say things bluntly and the worst things possible at the worst time when the intention is not to. Then when I'm trying to say something helpful at times, I get made out as being mean. I don't hate you guys. I don't even hate Kenneth. And like I've said in the past, I don't hate either one of them. I hate what they were doing. It's only so long you can treat somebody a certain way and try to be the innocent party through it all when they're equally involved before it gets to a point that eventually something happened to me. Neither of them would be given the opportunity to make right on their part too. Kenneth, I know, doesn't give a shit. He's made that clear. He don't give a fuck. And I can tell you right now, with all the things I had to deal with my mom, I don't want the boys to have to go through what I've been having to go through, because my mom, with all the things that I had to deal with growing up with her, I will never be given the opportunity for the things to be made right between her and I because of her health situation. And so, like many things, and I think for a lot of us, there are things in life that we have to just kind of deal with, because those opportunities that we had to correct them or make them right were lost already, or are being lost. I miss my son. And losing Jess, and then losing Heather, and then losing Jess. And then the fact that Nikki straight up alienated the shit out of me because, like everybody else, I was either too liberal or too conservative. Because everybody doesn't know where I'm standing. They just assume the TV knows more about me than I do. I was having to cope with those losses while trying to deal with Melissa's bullshit with her losses with her kids. And then dealing with her and Christian fighting all the time. They're in Canby. And was trying to, at the time, still trying to cope with the loss of even his mom, because I couldn't understand why. And it just kept getting worse, down to what I was dealing with at work. Having even a gun pulled on me at work because I couldn't bring myself to vote for Hillary Clinton. And having my boss tell me, so fucking what? Deal with it. I miss my son a lot. And as I started losing more and more people, it made it harder for me to be able to communicate, because I learned how to communicate through human and social interaction, and in order to maintain that ability, I had to have that ability to have people to communicate. Over the last 3 years, who have I had to communicate with? I've been alienated. I've had Melissa, but half the time I can't talk to her because I'm either being called rude or I'm something. And so it gets to the point I don't talk to her. Not as much as I probably used to or should have. I talk to my neighbors once in a while when I've been sitting alone for too many days. But I don't think anybody, I know Melissa hasn't, I don't think either of the boys have taken the time to actually look into what the effects are and all that of neurofibromatosis on somebody. I don't think they've looked up what this disability is about and what I've been dealing with. Just like I don't think they've really looked up a whole lot into the autistic aspect of things. Because when I learned about it and got the diagnosis, I couldn't help but part of me be relieved, because now I know what's wrong. I don't have to wonder anymore and keep trying to search. But I have to sort of relearn how to live. And I think these boys need to take the time to start actually learning about the disabilities that their dad has, instead of condemning their dad for those disabilities. And that's what I've been going through. Especially from Kenneth. When Christian keeps staring in my face about what happened when I ended up in the hospital, I have no memory of that. Has he taken the time to look at what happens when someone overdoses on ibuprofen or whatever the fuck it was? Not even Melissa did until I showed her it and showed her what happens, and yeah. There's a reason why to me it felt like a coma, while everybody else I was awake, I guess. I said they need to look up the effects of things instead of judging. When it comes to autism, I ended up finding out that with autism, the number one cause of death for people with autism is suicide. And it's because of alienation, depression, being socially abused by their peers and their family, and not being able to cope or communicate because they don't feel normal. They don't feel like a part of anything. I'm neurodivergent. There's a reason why when the boys were younger, and different ones were like, there's no other dads that are coming out to the skate with us. There's a reason why in their minds I was kid-like. I always knew I was more like a kid. But I couldn't. What can you do about something that you really don't have any ability of being able to control in that? All the changes that have constantly gone on, especially at that time period after losing my brother, my sister, my two best friends, Nacho, who still means the fucking world to me. All these people alienated me, either, outside of the two that died, everyone else alienated me because of fucking politics. Or because in their head I'm crazy, I don't act normal. Now we know why. Anyways, I didn't mean to drag this out for like 51 minutes, going on 52 minutes. And I'm not trying to post blame or anything like that. All I'm saying is I miss my son. I'm sorry. I wanted this shit to stop a long time ago. It didn't need to keep going the way it did. One thing after another didn't need to keep being blamed on me for things, and including things I didn't even know about. I still don't even know about at this point. I'm glad you guys are doing good. I had a really good conversation with you, Alexia, there at the house, and I appreciate that. You and Christian have done a really good job with Christopher, and are doing a really good job. I hope to be able to get to see and visit with you guys again, and I hope that we can be able. I'm hoping that we can be able to be a family again, to whatever degree we can. I mean, I understand that we all have our own lives, so I miss my son. And I wish all this bad shit didn't happen, and I wish I knew how to undo it. I didn't ask for this house, but because we are not able to get the HELOC loan for the equity, the next option is to go back to what Grandpa and I had been talking about before, and that's sell the house. So that way I can pay him back what he put into it, which will pay off his bills that he needs to so he can retire and stay home with Grandma. And the money outside of what I'll be paying him back and all that and paying off those bills, I'll be utilizing the rest to buy another house somewhere else and move. The downside is I'm pretty sure Grandpa said something. He said something to me, but I don't know if he actually said something to you guys. But be looking towards the Midwest, like Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, around there. Hopefully a place with trees and water nearby, because I can't do deserts and flatlands. But you'll be using that money to buy another home, invest in a business, and so that way I'm not completely on this disability shit. It's what I've been trying to do this whole time. But there's only so many venues I can take right now. Anyways, again, I'm sorry it's 55 minutes now. This isn't being posted public, as I said before. This is staying unlisted, because I guess at private it just went and I wouldn't be able to share it to you guys. So I'm hoping this was okay and you guys are doing well still. I miss you guys. I miss my son a lot. And I really hope that we'll be able to start the healing process again here sometime and be able to start talking and all that fun stuff. Anyways, I love you guys, and try and have a good day and a good rest of your week, okay?